Hey everybody, it is a snow day, but we still have class. I know you're super happy about that, as am I. I am still in my pajamas. I hope that you are too, and here we go. We're going to have our snow day presentation. I'm just going to do a little overview of what we're going to be doing today. So the first thing we're going to talk about is paraphrasing. The paraphrasing is a form of note-taking, and I'm going to talk to you about how to do that, and you're going to have a little bit of time to practice that. After we're done with that, we're going to talk about modes of discourse. Modes of discourse, some of you may have heard about them. They're sometimes called rhetorical modes. We're going to go through each one, and we're also going to have a little bit of practice about that. And then the last thing we're going to talk about today is figurative language. And so we have quite a lot to get through, and I'm going to have more than one video that we will be going through, and I am still deciding whether I want to do a voice thread for the modes of discourse. We might do that, and then the figurative language will just be another presentation like this. So you're going to have more than one thing to watch, and then of course there's going to be homework at the end, which I will go over in more detail. We will be meeting, there's the homework, we'll talk about that. We will be meeting on Monday. I need to set up our Readers Notebook Conference days, and I want to talk to you about that, and I want to walk you through that. Wednesday, I have a meeting that I will be off campus, and I will talk to you more about how Readers Notebook Conferences are going to happen and what's going to happen next week on Monday. Hopefully the snow will stay away so we can all get there on Monday. All right, so the first thing I want to talk to you about is paraphrasing, and I'm going to do that right here in this presentation. So paraphrasing is a form of note-taking, and I want you to make sure that the word paraphrase or paraphrasing is in your teacher-directed vocabulary part of your reader's notebook. When we are paraphrasing, it's actually like a translation. So I know many of you speak more than one language. You've either taken languages in high school and are learning foreign languages, or possibly you've come from another country and you've spoken a different language there. I know that a lot of you have that experience. So I want you to think about that experience, and I want you to think about that language that you have been learning. And I want you to think about how you would be the translator if somebody was speaking English and somebody else was speaking, and I'm just going to say Spanish because that's easy, right? So if somebody was speaking English and somebody else was speaking Spanish, and the Spanish-speaking person didn't know English, and the English-speaking person didn't know Spanish, and you know both, then you would be able to translate between those two people. And I want you to think about what you would do to do that. So if, like, the English-speaking person wanted to give a direction to the Spanish-speaking person, like, go wash the dishes, for example, then you would have to translate that into Spanish. And what you would do, you probably wouldn't say, and I hate doing dishes and poor you, or you would not editorialize and add things on to what the English speaker was trying to say to the Spanish speaker, because it would just confuse the Spanish speaker. Does that make sense? So that's what you're going to be doing with paraphrasing. You're going to take the academic language, the language of the author, the language that the author uses, which is still going to be English, obviously, and you're going to translate it into your own words, the way you would talk, which is probably more informal language than the formal language that you will be reading. So it's like a translation. All you're doing is conveying the same ideas and meaning. So you're not changing anything from what the author said. You're not editorializing and adding your opinion or anything like that. You are just translating the same idea into a different dialect or a different words. Okay, so you're going to convey the same meaning as you are that the author used. Okay, so I have that kind of written a little more succinctly. I like the cows over here. All right, so let's move on to you have read Lasers in the Jungle. This was an assignment for today. So you've already read and annotated for purpose. So this is done already. You have read this. I have a little copy of the online version of the article right here. So step 1 and done. So step 2 is then you have to think about, did I understand what the text said? Do I understand the message that the author is trying to tell me? Because that is the most important part of paraphrasing. You have to understand what the author is telling you in order to translate it. Just like if the English speaker said something to you, you'd have to understand what they meant by doing dishes before you could translate it into the Spanish, right? So the same kind of thing. You have to understand the message that the author's trying to tell you as a reader in order to paraphrase. So if you do not understand the text, then I would suggest that you try going back and reading your annotations for purpose, because that was keeping track of all the meaning in each paragraph. And you can also use our handy dandy main idea major support worksheet that we did. We did this with Easter's End, and you can go ahead and do that. You can think to yourself, like, what is the topic? And then you can go through all the major support just like we did. And you probably already have those annotated for purpose already. So then you could just group them. Where do you see the shifts in major support, right? And then after you have all the major supports grouped and all of those listed, you can look at it and say, all right, what is this author wanting me to know about the topic, right? What is the controlling idea? Then you can compose a thesis statement. If you can compose a thesis statement, you understand the text. So that's your next job, is to make sure you understand the text. Now, if you understand the text already, you don't have to go through all of those things. Of course not. Unless, of course, I make you, which if there's an assignment that you have to do it, then that's a different thing. But for this, I didn't assign this worksheet. So this is just purely if you're needing help or you're needing to help yourself, you may do that. And this is posted in D2L, so you can stop the video, you can go to D2L, you can print it out, you can do that work. Okay, so let's just assume you understand the text. Lasers in the Jungle, okay? The next thing you're going to do is think. Now, I tend to go and do something for about 10 minutes while I'm thinking. And the point is to think about the text. Think about what you're supposed to be paraphrasing or translating into your own ideas. So you're going to think about that part of the text that you're going to paraphrase. Set your timer for 10 minutes so you don't get mired in something else. If I was going to go, for example, do dishes, I would do 10 minutes worth of dishes, thinking about what I needed to paraphrase as I was doing the dishes, and then I would come back and do step 4. Step 4 is write your paraphrase. Okay, so here's the trick. Do not look at the article at all. Don't look at your annotations. Just sit down, blank piece of paper, and do your best to remember all of the points that you need to remember to paraphrase. Do your best. Don't look at anything. Just write it down. And then when you're done writing it down and you can't think of any more and you don't know if you've missed something or not, then you can go back to your notes, take out your article, take out your notes, and you compare the text. So you have your article, you have your annotations with your article, you have your paraphrase that you've written, and you look at them and you say, okay, did I include all the major points? That's my first job. I did. Okay, great. Did I include something incorrectly? Then you have to take that out, right? Did I accidentally use the author's words? Because just because you memorize how the author did it, that still needs to either be quoted or changed, because just writing those words word for word that the author does, that's plagiarism. So you have to either do some work to change it around and rework those words so it's a paraphrase, or you have to quote it. because you cannot just take the author's words and put it into your own paragraph. All right? Does that make sense? I love this cartoon up here. It's awesome. Read it. I think it's funny. It made me laugh today. All right, so then the next thing you're going to do is, since you are still using the author's ideas, they're not your ideas, right? They are not your ideas. So you have to give the author credit because it's their ideas. So there are two ways to cite your sources. You can do a parenthetical citation, which means you just put the name of the author in parentheses after you're done with your paraphrase. Or you can work the author's name into your text. So I gave you a little example here. Here's a parenthetical, right? You just have Hatton, and I'm just pretending that I'm the author. I'm not, but okay. And then you can work, and this is an example of how to work it into in-text citation. According to Meg Hatton, snow days are not just free days where you can play video games all day, right? And notice how I used quotation marks here. Maybe that is something from the text that you don't want to change because it means exactly what you want it to mean. So a little tiny quotation like that is just fine. And since you said my name up here, you've already given me credit. So this is an important part of paraphrasing. All right, so here's what your job is. Your job is going to be to go back to Lasers in the Jungle, and I'm going to scroll back down to the Lasers in the Jungle here, right? Go back to your article. And what I want you to do in a paraphrase is I want you to define LiDAR. So that means you're going to have to find where it is in the text, figure out how you're going to say it in your own words, and I want you to start a Word document that has, just label it, like put the title LiDAR on it, because we're going to add to this assignment later on in a different video. Okay, so the first thing you're going to do is you're going to put your name, and you're going to put LiDAR as your title, and then you're going to label it definition of LiDAR, and then you're going to paraphrase the definition of LiDAR from Lasers in the Jungle. So that's your first thing that's going to be on this document. Okay, does that make sense? If you have questions, you can absolutely email me your questions about this, but just follow the steps. And this this PowerPoint is going to be uploaded right along with the video, so you can still look at this presentation without having to hear me again. So you can go as slow as you want or as fast as you want through the slides. So that is your first job today, is to go back to Lasers in the Jungle, find the definition for LiDAR, paraphrase that definition on a new Word document, which is going to be part of your assignment that you are going to upload. This is classwork. You would have been doing this in class with me. I would have checked it in class. So you have to do that as part of your work for today. All right? Cool. I'm going to say goodbye on this paraphrasing note, and I will see you on the modes of discourse, I believe, is next. Yes, it is. So modes of discourse will be next, and I will see you then.